All right, guys. What is this? Twice in 1 week again? Come on. All right. I'm going over a technique today. It's one, just one. And I feel it really complements what we've gone over already this week with noir comics, comic styles, illustrative styles. And I think you should jump in and give it a shot. I think you're really going to like it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, all right. This is a real quick video. I'm just going over one style, technique, whatever. And it builds on what we've already done this week with our other illustrative styles. This works really great on styles that are black and white. So the reason I'm kind of mixing it in is because we used noir comic art. So that's a black and white. What we're adding to that prompt is ink washed. And what this is it was in Asia. It came from Sumier. And basically it's using inks as a watercolor. So that's the wash. That's the ink wash. It works really well with a very detailed pen and ink on top of it. So it's kind of like this layered thing. So if you have like a black and white ink intricate style look, like a sticker art or something like that, and you want to add atmosphere and subtle, very diluted coloring to it that's not super precise, this is what you want to do. You want to add ink washed to your prompt. All right, here is a woman, and this is in noir comic style, ink washed, and you can see it's added, where's my clicker? It's added texture, it's added volume, loose shadowing. It's done a fantastic job here. And yeah, so it's kind of like a watercolor type of work. I believe it's very close to wet on wet water. Here's a man, and here you go. Here's the where it's adding to our imagery is it's giving us a very volumetric textured background. It works great, you know. He's very much in dark. A little bit of midtones here, very subtle highlights, and then we have these very impressionistic backgrounds that are very atmospheric perspective, different terms you can use like that. But yeah, ink washed cheeseburger. So here it is in kind of a sepia tone with what looks like a penciling over it. Penciling or an inking. Get out of here. I need my coffee. Jesus. But look at that. It gives such depth to the rough penciling technique that's on top of it, you know, without the meticulous shading. It's a more loose shading technique that gives us these atmospheres and nice gradation. Here's another cheeseburger. Same thing. This one has a bit more coloring. You know, there was more effort put in. Yeah. Midjourney put into the texturing of the cheeseburger, which makes that subject really pop. But you still have this atmospheric effect behind it and dripping. Like that's another thing is like you can get drips with this wet on wet technique because there's just a lot of water when you're using you know this ink wash technique or wet on wet watercolor. Very cool stuff. I mean, you can imagine how to use this. And I really like loose, rough techniques. So this one really speaks to me. I don't know what's going on with this cheese over here. Just going rogue. Cut that off. Here we go. Another atmospheric. I mean, look at that. We don't see this often with the octopus. Very atmospheric. Very much playing with just the highlights to create the imagery, and look at that. You know, the eyes are all blacked out. That's a really dramatic image. I like that. Very, very cool. Not sure what I would use it for, but I'm sure I could find something, especially out here on Cape Cod. Here's another, and this looks like a pen and ink octopus, but with the underbrushing, the you know, probably painted out very rough with the wash underneath and then inked over it to really solidify the details in it. And wow, very, very cool. very evil. You know, I like how they're mixing a skull with the octopus. It's it's just pretty sick. A house, again, great for landscapes. So loose, so, you know, loose and rough, and that gives clouds and fog. With fog, you know, you think of just this solid, just blanket of grayness. Using this technique, you can actually build detail into that wall of gray, and this is done with a cool gray, so it gives a nice cold feeling to it. But what a haunting image! Isn't that cool? And I love how this path is lit up front, and this is just kind of darker in the background, and this ominous tree, and everything is just very loose in it. And I think that's you know, that's the effect, because we know noir can be very sharp and hard-edged, noir comic. So this is adding a very loose artistic feel to that. Here's a landscape. You know, could be a house too, but the prompt was a landscape, and look at, you know, such volume. What a great use for nighttime atmospheric. You know, all being illuminated by this full moon, but you get these just beautiful clouds and atmosphere and rough up here in the sky. Just this implied texture and close clouds. It's also like great texture that's laying underneath this hard ink foreground. Very cool. Look at this too. I'm just exploring this image a little bit more, and you have this moon, and then like this the atmospheric perspective from these trees. Like you have these very dark trees, and they're layered in there very nicely, and it's a little lighter, a little lighter, a little lighter, like less contrast as you move in, and get this really glowy effect from that ink wash. Another tree, and look at that. It's also got, you know, on top of the atmospherics of the wash, you have this cross hatching. It makes this loose technique, it makes this loose technique feel very precise, and like this is exactly what we meant to get. But it's not. It's after the fact. You're detailing it on top of it, and very cool. There's a little bit heavy of a computer repetitive noise pattern in here. You can fix that in Photoshop, but again, we're seeing that every now and again in Midjourney, in the foliage too. That repetitive pattern. I know it drives a lot of us crazy. I'm also noticing tree branches are they're starting to resemble the old version, like version 3 tree branches. But this is very cool. This is a very, very cool image, very haunting, very, very atmospheric. There's just a lot going on in there. Okay, here's my friendly little doggy. So I wanted to experiment and use it over something that's not the noir comic. I wanted to kind of show you. So one, you can start adding other colors. So it can be like an actual watercolor that's inked over. But, and this is tattoo inspired art, which would, you know, be monochromatic. And then we're adding an ink wash and getting a very, a more colored image, but it's subdued. It's not a vibrant coloring. It's a very subtle coloring that really lets it feel more monochromatic than it is. But look at that. That is wild. It's like a little zombie dog. I think I see tendons down here. That's why I'm saying zombie. But and it's like every Chihuahua I've ever met. All right, that is ink washed and add it to your prompt. See how it plays with the other stuff we went over this week. Guys, thanks for joining me this week. I hope you got a lot out of this complimentary style, let's call it that. And if you could do me a favor and like the video and comment below. If you can't comment below, or if you want more extensive conversation, head over to Discord. You know, we are talking up a storm over there, lots of stuff. I know my earlier video this week kind of, you know, turned over some stones that Midjourney might not be too happy to hear about. Go check that out. So like the video, comment below, go to Discord, and subscribe to the channel. That would be great. All right. Till next week.